What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Flickin' Real Fancast. We are your source for news, reviews, and daily discourse. Holy hell, do I have an episode today. We have a movie review, and we don't get to do those all that often. And even more rare, I got to go see it in a Dolby Theater. What movie am I talking about? I'm talking about Godzilla versus Kong. This has been a 7-year journey, 4 films leading to this moment. Did it live up to the expectations? Well, that's up for debate. And I brought my favorite master debaters with me today to discuss this film. One being the one, the only, the writer of the Showdown, and a good friend of mine, PJ Campbell.
Good morning, my friend. It is early. We're here talking all things kaiju monsters, and I am so happy to be here with you.
Is that a mean bean?
It is, in fact, because we got a day ahead of me, and it's a triple shot Java monster.
Yeah.
That's how I'm feeling.
Awesome. I feel it. I have had, what's wrong with me? Am I drinking sparkling ice? I have caffeine in the fridge. I'm going to have to stop this broadcast in the middle of it and go grab myself a monster and stuff. Also, bringing to the channel, I believe for the first time on my channel, it is the one, the only Spin from the Reel's own Matt Thomas.
What's up, Jesse? And it's either the first or second time. I think there was something quick I popped on for. I can't remember.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, like we've definitely talked a lot.
Yes.
And I've had Chris on a couple times, but I don't know if I ever had you on the channel.
But
I was trying to think about it earlier, but I'm not sure. But yeah, guys, we're here. I got to be honest. When just because of how I felt, and I think how Matt, from what I've heard, has felt about King of the Monsters, PJ, I don't know where you lie on it. My anticipation wasn't skyrocketed for this movie. It was a little bit of a mixed bag. But I really, before we get into spoilers and just talking about the movie, what's everyone's kind of overall feeling first of the like legendary monster verse thus far?
PJ, you want to start or you want me to start?
Yeah, I got you. So I grew up watching a lot of the old Toho movies and things like that, so I've always had a soft spot for the monsters, and I'm a huge fan of the 2014 Godzilla. Like, the Bryan Cranston of it all was standing. I thought it was like a really sharp reinvention of the character and the world and like reintroducing him. And I think that Skull Island was like the most pulpy, batshit crazy fun you could possibly have. Like, just a very fun movie. And Monster, as far as King of the Monsters is concerned,
Love you, Shug.
Like it a lot. It's not above criticism. I think that the thing for me was seeing Ghidorah and Mothra and a lot of the Titans brought to life on a $200 million budget. Like, we weren't looking at dudes in suits and like stop motion. We were looking at full-fledged kind of recreations of the character. So, 7-year-old me was fist pumping the entire movie, just seeing it. And so I like the Monsterverse, man. It's not above criticism. It's got a lot of issues, but of all the cinematic universes outside of Marvel, the Monsterverse so far, it's the only one that's really kind of landed. As weird as that sounds. Like, I like the DCEU, but it's had its own setbacks. Like, the Monster Universe kind of set out to do its thing, and we got through 4 movies and it did its thing. So
DC's lows seem to be lower than the monster lows. And Matt, I'll let you go. I just want to throw in, I think these monster movies, I feel like Kanye for a second. I'm gonna let you finish, but these kaiju movies for me, they are at their best when they know exactly what they are. Example being Kong Skull Island. I thought King of Monsters tried too hard and tried to have too much plot. And you know what we don't go to these movies for?
Plot.
The human or the plot. And it was like, let's just have a lot of it. And I'm like, it's too much and it's bad. You guys know you're bad at it, so don't give us more of it. Less is more. And so they tightened it up this time around. Matt, what do you think of the monster?
See, Jesse, I think you just nailed it on the head. I always thought this series started off strong. I love Godzilla. I gotten into my friends with this. I love Kong. And then because of the reasons you just listed, I do not care for King of Monsters because, 1, it tried too hard. 2, the editing was off sometimes because me and Chris even talk about this. There's like 4 separate times you think O'Shea Jackson Jr. dies in that film. And then you see him and you're like, wait, didn't he just, never mind. But
I just gotta say that Buck is like copy pastes in every chat. It's just, hey fam.
It is Buck. That's Buck. But it's just one of those things where you're like, okay, just try to rock with it. But again, they gave us too much character and too much human in King of Monsters, and this, as I think you said, it found the right balance. Was there? I'd say it was. I shouldn't say they found the perfect balance. It was like balance. It was a better balance. It was like 60-40 human to monster this time. I just wish it was 40 human, 60 monster this time around.
What I'll say without like diving into it too much is I appreciated that even though the balance might not have been perfect, typically when we got humans, they were with monsters or monster adjacent. Like the Millie Bobby Brown and the podcasting stuff was associated with Godzilla stuff, and so we were into that. And then every time you saw a human that was associated with Kong was in the shot pretty much. Like he was always there. So I appreciate that. Let's talk about
how it feels like a direct sequel to Kong Skull Island.
Which, you know what? If I'm behind the movies and I'm like, all right, we need to move forward. I don't have the box office in front of me, but I think your best foot is the Bigfoot. It's your big Kong foot. Just lead with that because it's give us something to be attached to. Godzilla's a lot of fun and there's spectacle there, but especially this movie, and this is saying something for the monster movies, they found a way to get like a little bit of an emotional core in the story and let us care at least somewhat, because with the Godzilla movies, I haven't cared about anybody. And when
except Bryan Cranston.
I was about to say, except when they had to care about Bryan Cranston, and they gave him an off-screen death, basically. And they like, here's a body bag. I'm like, for Bryan Cranston? Are you nuts? So, do you guys want any final thoughts before rolling into some thoughts of the story and stuff? Because I know I think we're on the same playing field here, but maybe just different levels.
Yes.
I just want to say I think you were right though about leading off with Kong. I think it made the most sense, especially because as it is also Godzilla's had 2 movies, so let's level the playing field a little bit. Give Kong his own sequel, if you will, since he never actually got one. And I think there's like this is very inside baseball stuff. It also might be a rights thing because as we know, like the Toho deal with Godzilla is kind of wrapping up. So if that's the case, you make sure you lean in on the Kong of it all, because if they want to continue the MonsterVerse forward, he will likely be the central focus, would be my guess.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a little bit beforehand. This is partly why the film kind of feels like Dawn of Justice at times, because you instead of you've had Godzilla, who's had 2 proper films. Kong has had.
Took the words out of my mouth. I was going to bring up the same thing. Yeah.
So since you had that, now you got to speak. You got to bring a little bit more Kong to kind of like you said, even PJ said. I mean, even it out a bit, because it's just one of those things. And I didn't even know about the Toho thing. If that's the case, fine. Give me the film that I enjoyed the most and more of that the character I enjoyed the most out of this series. Yeah. Because don't get me wrong, do I like Godzilla 2014? Yes, but I've cared more about Kong in these 4 films than I have Godzilla.
I agree with that. What's a little disappointing is I know that there's a time gap of several decades, but it would have been cool to see some characters or descendants of characters continue on from the Skull Island franchise.
And again, like we kind of talked about this off camera, and it's weird to me, and I'm wondering how much of it was cut here, because we'll talk about it. This is a lean, mean, quick movie, which is not a bad thing, right. But a lot of character stuff falls by the wayside, Monarch-wise. And one of the characters in Skull Island with Corey Hawkins appears in King of the Monsters, played by Joe Morton, decades later. So, like, there's been those through lines that are never fully touched upon. And I would have liked to see, like, a 90s set Skull Island movie or an 80s set Skull Island movie. Like, and there's no saying you can't do that still, too. I mean, we obviously know where it would end up, which is what it is. But, I mean, that's also saying, hey, we know how Black Widow ends up, and I'm still excited for Black Widow. So,
is the next movie called Kong Hollow Earth? Because
I mean, it should down. Be.
That sounds like a cool title, to be honest.
And it feels like that's what it's kind of been set up. I know this didn't have a post-credit scene. King of Monsters did, but it feels like that's kind of what was set up there, especially with that ending where he's getting now to be the king of Hollow Earth. He's roaming Hollow Earth, and we don't know all the different creatures and monsters that are down there. So if that's where they decide to go, I'd really like to see that, because, like I said, I've cared more about Kong in all this than Godzilla, unfortunately.
All right, so let's get into some story. Is now it's been a few days since I saw it. Is the first scene the Godzilla attack?
No,
the first it's Kong.
Kong waking up and throwing his
right, and we don't know what's going on exactly. It even says like somewhere on Skull Island, which made me chuckle. I know it's a dumb thing to chuckle at, but I was like, it's somewhere. It's somewhere on Skull Island. And he's walking around, and Matt, do we have you frozen a little bit?
Yeah, it looks like Matt froze a little bit.
He'll come back. This happens. But so we see him walking around in his butt scratching glory, taking a shower in the waterfall.
Which, by the way, brilliant nod to Lethal Weapon. For those who don't know, that the Kong character in this, I was reading an interview with Wingard. They talked about that their two models of characters were Martin Riggs from Lethal Weapon and John McClane in Die Hard. That's who they were trying to model Kong after. And the opening is like a direct riff off of Riggs in Lethal Weapon when he's walking around his a beach apartment and he's like scratching his ass and getting ready for the day. It's a direct nod to that.
I'll sideline really quick and say that I'm not a big Thundercats guy, but hearing that he is now going to be directing that has me much more interested than I was.
Agreed. Very agreed.
Although I loved Thundercats growing up. I was a kid of the 90s watching it on Toonami reruns all day. I ain't even gonna lie.
I'm a kid of the 90s, but I'm a kid of the 90s with 3 channels. So I saw X-Men and Spider-Man. And that was my childhood.
I get it.
So we get introduced to the little girl. Does anyone have her name memorized off the top of their head? I don't have a chance to know.
The actress's name.
No. But she was. I have never seen a more precious, adorable little girl. Like the second she came on screen, I'm like, that child is adorable. And we very quickly get introduced to them having a relationship where she has that little like straw doll that she made.
Gia.
Gia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gia.
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 Yeah.
Oh, like the Earth. That's like, isn't it like Gaia or Gia, or isn't that?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know. I tried to connect things that weren't there. And then I couldn't figure out what he was doing. He grabbed that tree and did the thing that he did when he was fighting the skull crawlers in Skull Island. And I was like, what's he about to fight? There's nothing here. Throws it into the sky and abruptly stops deadpan in the sky. We find out he's in a giant dome.
He has been contained by Monarch. He is being watched. They're protecting him
On
to keep
Skull
him.
Island.
Yeah, because they're also trying to, we find out Skull Island's been destroyed. There was a storm.
Yeah.
And they crazy shit.
Godzilla has a superiority complex.
Yeah, dude's got a... They just needed to sit down and have coffee. Honestly, that's all I'm saying. If they had just sat down and had a coffee together, I think a lot of this could have been avoided.
I'm just imagining the runs that somebody like the size of Kong would get from some coffee. Nobody wants to see even that.
Why you gotta put that in my head, man?
Sorry about it. Okay, help. We're gonna work together to run through the story because like I remember the big pops, but some of it needs a little memory jog.
I saw the first hour 3 times, like I said. So
there you go. Take it, Matt. Take it. What happens after we?
after I'm waking up is when we get the Godzilla attack at Apex. Yep. So you have Brian Tyree Henry. He's stealing the information. The alarms start going off. You find out that he makes his own hand sanitizer. Kind of a little bit creepy, setting off the weird. This guy's really weird vibe, and then we find out he's
quirky.
He's a podcaster. He's a podcast. Oh.
Well, he's also trying to scare that dude off, which was kind of brilliant too. Like, I love the way they played that up. You're like, why are you being so? Oh, okay. You're like really bad at the spy thing. Like James Bond would be embarrassed.
Yes. But no.
We got the prince that wasn't promised. Man,
Joseph, what's up?
What up, Joseph?
No, and then the alarms start going off, and Godzilla's attacking Apex. Which, if I remember correctly, there was only like 8 casualties. And
yeah, not bad.
I sat there, I'm like, 8 casualties? Did you see what he just did? And there's only 8?
Don't worry, it won't stop there. I'll tell you one thing. I will not stand for people complaining about destruction in a monster movie. Get out of my theater.
I'm not saying I'm complaining about the destruction.
No. I know you're not. I'm just saying that like I've watched so many reviews and people are like, well, there is a lot of distraction. And I'm like, man,
it's funny because you say that, and one of the things that the movie does, and like you and I kind of talked about this the other day, by the way, Jesse, was people who overlook things so that they complain about it. They clearly set up that there is zones for people to go to during kaiju attacks.
Right. And I wish that I didn't know who the final boss of the movie was, because the instant that I saw that orb, I was like, I know what that is. But I was watching a review and somebody was like, Godzilla just unprompted started attacking the facility and it really made him the villain of the movie. I was like, no.
I'm like, there's a reason later on in the film. They showed us that orb for a good minute. There's a reason why. And you see why later on in the film. And that should be like, oh, that wasn't unprompted, guys. Yeah,
and then they zoom in on the eye of something later on to show you that's the same thing.
Orb. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, listen, I understand that these movies are shallow in bits, but if you're going to complain, at least pay attention to what they give you on screen.
Exactly.
Because they tried. Hey, we got a guest on the show here.
What's up, Jake?
Berlin, from a certain point of view.
Jake!
Can't stay, but wanted to stop in and keep crushing it, guys. P.S. This show is everything. Aw, well, thanks, buddy. How do I get
that guy?
Get it out of here. All right.
Click on it again and it'll go away.
Anyway, so yes, so we get the destruction of that, and then is that when we come across Millie Bobby Brown?
Yeah, because after that, she sees the news report that that Apex has been attacked. She's like, something's wrong. He wouldn't do that unprovoked. This, that, and the other. And which one of the 5 seconds in the film we get to see Kyle Chandler.
And he turns quick to be like, you know what, screw Godzilla. Like after the last movie, which I was kind of like, wow, what are we doing here, man? Like,
and that's as far as things that you could cut out and things that you could put in, you could have just removed him from the film.
Yeah. And again, I think it's one of those things because we were talking about it again off camera. With all the stuff we've been hearing about what was cut, I'm like 95% sure almost his entire arc was cut out of the movie.
Yeah, no.
I think they knew that people were complaining about like King of Monsters feeling too long and stuff, but it's like it depends on what you're filled with. Like if you have anything interesting for us to watch, sure. If you have somebody plotting the plot about it's like, oh well, we need to have the Titans cleanse the earth, and I was like, I'm out of here. This is dumb. Anyways. So go ahead, Matt. Take it. You are our guiding light here. You're a North Star.
For the first hour, yes, but then again, once you hit that second hour, that's when all the fun stuff happens. So after that, we have Rebecca Hall's character. Well, actually, rewind. We have Alex Skarsgård's character have that proposal. You believe in the Hollow Earth theory. I'm going to fund you to help prove that it's real. This, that, and the other. From who else but the CEO of Apex. And
I love this guy. He eats every ounce of scenery he is in. Yes. And that is when these films are the best.
Yes.
When they know exactly what they are. And they're like, we're hammy. We're cheesy. But there's a
I'm the hammy villain. That is what I am. I am the hammy villain.
Like Sam Jackson in Kong.
I didn't think Samuel L. Jackson was that hammy for the majority of the film. This guy was hammy every scene he was in, and I loved it.
He was Sam Jackson. He wasn't trying to be anything other than Sam Jackson.
So then he's like, well, I'm going to need help. Let's talk to this doctor who we're back on Skull Island with Rebecca Hall's character, and he arrives there, and he tells her about everything, and that's one of the first times we hear, if we take him outside of here, it's going to be a death sentence because Godzilla is going to come right for him. But Kong bows to no one, and he convinces her to take the risk because this could be our chance to find his real home. Like you said, this is one of the lines I thought was cool and caught my attention a lot. You've always believed that Skull Island was just hollow earth making its way to the surface.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I want to explore this more.
For as obscure as these movies are, that's the closest it comes to, okay, sure.
I thought that was one of the most interesting ideas too, which when you start to realize that we're going to be exploring the Hollow Earth more, it made me more excited because I thought the world and things like that in Skull Island was so cool, and those monsters are so cool. So if that's the Hollow Earth on the surface, what does it look like on the inside? What are we going to see?
Spoiler alert.
But it's also a callback to that first Kong film when they're like, "This Earth is hollow. What's going on? Like, what's going on here?" So I'm like, "Okay, it's all making sense. Give me more. Give me more nuggets." And then we cut to their transporting Kong.
Yeah, through it'll come to me, the Tasman Sea.
That sounds right. Yeah, it's like almost Tasmanian, but it's Tasman.
That's how I remembered it. I was like, it's like a Looney Tune.
Yes, you should probably start learning this stuff. Wink, wink.
Well, until we get a kaiju slice, I'll do a binge when I get that. When I see that slice, I'll start binging them again. I got enough to catch up on.
Let's be honest. We know he's working on it.
I know.
I may or may not have been writing questions in my head while I was watching the movie.
Yeah, I think me and PJ talk swashbuckling all the time. Put the respect on Hook's name.
God damn right.
All right.
I concur. It's my favorite Spielberg film.
Ooh, it's in my top 10, so I get it. Like as far as Spielberg is concerned, I think that movie gets unfairly maligned.
I think it's because it was the first Spielberg film I saw as a child.
Ooh, oh, okay. That makes sense, actually.
All right, Rufio, keep us going.
Yeah,
we're in the Tasman Sea.
Tasman Sea.
Kong somehow on a
they got him on a boat. They don't. I want to know how they got him on the boat. I get that they had him.
I have like 5 different hows about this scene. It was like, okay, you got him sedated. How'd you get him out there?
Right.
And then
how'd you get him to stay calm when he eventually probably woke up, because we saw he's in and out throughout this entire thing.
I think it's a constant state of sedation.
Yeah,
it looks like they're constantly feeding him sedatives through like something.
Well, think about it. He's awake in that rain scene, and Gia has that moment, and he signs to her. So then you're just like,
I took 3 years of sign language, guys. So I gotta say, this movie probably hit me a lot harder than it should have.
Dude, the stuff with Gia and Kong is some of the best. It's also some of the best Kong human relationship that's ever been on film. Like straight up,
the bar for Kong human relationships is not high.
Whoa, I agree.
Creepy.
It is, and that's why I was glad to see something like this, and the whole backstory that we learn of like when Skull Island was destroyed, she was like the one person from the Iwi tribe that survived that Kong took care of, and so there's that relationship of like they're the last thing essentially from Skull Island, and there's like that feeling of needing each other and protecting each other that was really kind of beautiful.
Yeah. And then we're to the next day. They're like, we're till later on. She's like, yeah, I didn't know he picked up signing this, that, and the other. It's so interesting. And they're talking about how they just got to keep on this path. Let's keep moving. We don't want to catch Godzilla's attention. Next thing we know, guess who's attacking?
You got Godzilla's attention. What do you know? You're out in open waters. Go figure.
Hey, we got to let him free so he can protect us. No, Godzilla flips the boat over.
Yeah,
everyone's in danger of drowning.
On top of this movie being beautiful so many different times, it's also like very well like choreographed. I think the cinematography in it was excellent.
Well,
the way they really go ahead.
Something no one will ever say about these films is that they were poorly shot. They all look magnificent. I will say that. They all look like they shouldn't be shot this well because it's an action flick, but they look almost like Academy Award-winning shot films.
I won't lie, too, because when they announced that Ben Saracen was the one doing the cinematography, I definitely had a tinge of concern because he had done Revenge of the Fallen. He had done The Mummy with Tom Cruise. He'd done, like, World War Z, Pain and Gain, like, movies that didn't necessarily stand out to me as being really super well excitingly shot. The only one I really loved that he had done was Unstoppable.
Well, let's be fair. He probably just looked back at these last three and said, "Oh shit, I got to set my game up."
And he step his game up. He did, because
Yes.
I'll be honest, man. Some of the fight scenes in this movie are breathtaking, and there is a theme park quality to this movie that I don't think most blockbuster films manage to have. What are you doing? Go. Thank you. But like, there's some like beautiful scenery and just badass fights, man, that pop hard. And this first one in particular, when Godzilla shows up, is next level badass.
Yes, I agree, because they're like, let him free, and Skarsgård's character, if I remember correctly, is the one who flips the switch to set Kong free, and then he just goes and starts wailing on Godzilla, and I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted to see. This is why I'm here.
And they really, you feel the weight and the size of the Titans in these moments. Like, every single time one of them throws a punch, or they're grabbing the planes and using it as a weapon, or just the way that it plays out, you feel the gravity of the situation, which I think is very important. It's something that I think, even like, again, the aforementioned Transformers movies, I think after a while it lost sight of, let's make it feel like you're small. You need to feel small in the moments when these giant things are fighting and clashing. Like, the first Transformers movie did a great job of that during that final fight sequence, because you're seeing humans on the ground during the battles, and you're like, oh my god, the scale.
Right.
This one, you felt the scale, and
when they're picking up freaking fighter jets, and I'm like, oh.
Or
okay.
And when he's bounding from ship to ship to try to, because he's trying to protect everyone, but he's trying to get one up on Godzilla. Just so many very cool sequences like that, man. And even the underwater fights, like, there was a tension to it.
Can we talk about that sound design, boys?
Oh my god, dude, the sound design was remarkable.
The mixing is like, I remember some of the biggest goosebumps I ever got was that first Godzilla movie. Anytime anybody did anything, like the first time, like the Mutos would do like the whoa, when they did like the EMP blast thing.
Oh my god!
And I gotta tell you, when I saw, like, all these movies do such a great job with scale, but when you just see like the spine of Godzilla light up in the smoke, and just full body chills, like sickening chills. And it was all over this movie. I cheered several times. And even though I saw a part of it in the trailer, the first time I just threw my arm up in the air was Kong just haymaker Godzilla across the face. It was such a bar brawl. And I've never felt like such a Kyle, you know, like I just want to put my whole like fist through some drywall and scream.
Yep. Well, and it's so clear that Wingard, like us, is not just a fan of these characters, but he likes action movies. Like, I mean, it's very clear if you've seen The Guest or if you've seen Your Next. The dude loves 80s action movies. And that was
Death Note, actually, sadly.
Yeah, the less said about Death Note, probably the better, but you're not wrong. But
hey, everybody's got a last airbender.
Yeah. I'll say though, that the fight scenes in this, you nailed it. It's a bar brawl. And again, it shows in the way he's talked about the movie and his influences. There's a real Lethal Weapon, Die Hard vibe to these fights. It feels like when he's fighting Carl in Die Hard, like, grabbing the chains and throwing him against a wall, like these two characters who are just beating the shit out of each other for survival, not for anything else to look cool, but just for surviving.
Yeah. And then Godzilla basically wins round one. But
the Mortal Kombat me was like, round one.
Right. Kong plays dead. They shut off all the ships, so Godzilla thinks everyone's dead and goes off on his way. And then we cut back to Millie Bobby Brown and her friend Julian, or I forget the actual character's name, but Josh, because he's played by Julian Dennison. And they decide to take it upon themselves to go find Brian Tyree Henry's character Bernie, because he was at the apex attack. He might know what's going on. They want to try to figure this out, and she wants to prove Godzilla's innocent, this, that, and the other. It was not unprovoked. And they find him based off of the fact that he buys a lot of bleach. And in one of his podcasts, you can hear him yelling at someone about the lack of bleach because he needs it to shower.
I just want to throw this in here really quick, just because we got some viewers and stuff. We got a Streamlabs link. If you guys want to throw some questions in here and have it featured on the show, or just really support the channel, that'd be awesome. Because I don't know if you know this, PJ and Matt are incredibly expensive. I absolutely broke my bank bringing them on the show. So thank you guys.
I mean, how do you think I afforded this?
Exactly. I am very much in debt to these guys. So if you could just ham over fist, toss some money into the Streamlabs, we'd appreciate it. Streamlabs.com/flickinreal.
Give Jesse the money.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that I can then redisperse it amongst my friends here. All right. So talking about Bernie and Paranoia and then getting the band together.
Then they find Bernie after a the dude wouldn't give him information for free, but he gave him the information for $10. Not you think like $10 is like nothing.
I thought they were leading him on a goose chase, to be honest. Like I thought he's like just some kids. Like
right, I thought he was going to screw him over, and then we were going to get more to it. But $10, you just $10. But anyways, but he's like, oh yeah, it's Bernie. He buys bleach all the time. And Josh finally says, why does he buy bleach? And Millie Bobby Brown's character says, shower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they find him. They talk to him. They find him. Originally, he rebuffs trying to talk to them until she mentions who she is and realizes your mother was this person. And we cut back. We are now at Hollow Earth, or at the entrance of Hollow Earth, and they're about to go explore and this, that, and the other. And this is where it starts to get a little bit more hazy because I only saw everything after this one.
We get into the facility, the remnants of the Apex facility, and they slide down a convenient little hole that like takes them down to a hallway, and they start walking down. This is actually where I went to the bathroom, so this is great timing for me.
Well, I remember. So they hop in one of those shuttles. They see the skull crawlers,
right?
And from there, they are shipped. The shuttle just goes off, and they're like, "Where are we going? Where are we going?" And turns out they're going to Hong Kong, Apex headquarters in Hong Kong.
Right. And then we get back to Kong, who's had a rough go of it, right? Yep. Is this when they end up in the Antarctic?
Yeah, I think it's just they're going north, so it's not the Antarctic.
It's a snowy place, and Kong's cold. Yes. And they got a tunnel dug out, and what we have found out from the not greatly acted, is her name Eliza Gonzalez?
Isa, yeah.
Is it Gonzalez? Is that right?
Isa Gonzalez.
She was in Baby Driver, right?
Yes.
Right.
She's also in Hobbs and Shaw.
And she was also in the From Dusk Till Dawn TV series that was on, what is it? El Rey?
You're correct.
I'm just going to call her the one from Baby Driver because that's the good movie out of all those.
Hey, From Dusk Till Dawn was dope, sir. And Hobbs and Shaw was fun as fuck.
It was fun.
As someone who's a big fan of the Fast and Furious films, Hobbs and Shaw was disappointing to me. But that's just because
you know what's funny? As somebody that wasn't a fan of the Fast and Furious franchise, I enjoyed Hobbs and Shaw. So we're just like, anyways, she like I know that I said that it's really fun to be hammy and to just like chew up scenery. She was just bad. I thought. Like I didn't think she was
bad because she even can't like we've already talked about. There's a lot of human stuff that got cut. She's like a lot of my stuff got cut.
Well, yeah, I think maybe it's the human characters, but even on that basis, it wasn't that interesting.
And again, another character they do a poor job of letting us know. She's the daughter of the CEO of Apex.
I picked up on that because he said, "I trust my daughter," and then it like cut to her.
See, I was like, when the first time I saw that, I'm like, is Rebecca Hall secretly his daughter?
I did too. It took me a second.
Because if you don't pay attention right away when she shows up, she says that she says she's the daughter, but it's so done quickly. I had the same thought. I was like, wait, is Rebecca Hall? And that's a weird thing with how fast the movie's moving.
Right. And then you realize who the daughter is when once we're down into Hollow Earth and they've done Kong's done his little exploring. Because Lee could talk about this part quickly. It's beautiful scenery. He explores the hell out of Hollow. They go down to Hollow Earth. She has that why do I need a bag after Alex Skarsgård's character hands it to her. It was like for the vomit. And we had
I really thought that I wasn't gonna like Alexander Skarsgård, but he turned out to be fine. Yeah, like it was just like in the beginning, I was like, "Oh no, are you like a total tool?" But no, he's fine. He's fine. All right, guys, we do have a Streamlabs. We have a $10 Streamlabs from the one and only quiz show. And I gotta say,
love the quiz.
I gotta say, he had me in the first half here. He said, "You shouldn't be raising money to pay your guests. Raise this money to help out the families of millions of Hong Kong residents that lost their homes and lives in that finale."
Perfect.
I
love Jeff.
Oh man,
Chris was my guy. I'll see Jeff in about 50 minutes, actually. So
50 or 15?
50.
50. Okay. We are moving along. So I thought there was a great interaction between is it Gia and Kong, and where she convinced him, is like, hey, maybe you have family down there, and so we get that whole transition there. It kind of reminds me when they were going through there of like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when they're doing like the warp jumps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was going quick. He was everywhere, so quick.
I love when they catch up to him and he's just like swinging.
Yeah, that shot of him looking inside the cockpit is one of my favorites, and his face is like, "What just happened? I don't understand."
I love once we finally got down into the Hollow Earth, though. Like, I could have lived in that scene for a while. It was gorgeous. It was like a big painting. Like, if you could just like do your room up like that design with all the floating rocks and stuff, and watching him just like traverse like across continent and stuff, and just like float with like the low gravity. But we find out they're not alone down there.
Yeah. Kong has to beat the living hell out of these like pterodactyl snake-looking things,
which he does handedly.
Yes, I thought those monsters were cool. I'm like, I want to see more of those, please.
They
Give
were
me that
like
Hollow Earth movie.
They were like crazy versions of the skull crawlers. If the skull crawlers could fly, and that's what I thought was cool. Like there was again, it also proved the point of Skull Island was the Hollow Earth come top surface, and so those monsters look very similar. They look super fucking cool. And this whole design for Hollow Earth, when they're walking through and you see mountains that are like floating above him too, like it is so dope, man. I love the design.
And I have to I got a connection here for PJ. So like the difference between like these things and the skull crawlers is kind of like shriekers to ass blasters, right? So
sir.
Can we get it explained that graboids come from Hollow Earth and just get that crossover? Like that.
Okay, Tremor boys.
I want my Tremors. I want that. I want that right now. Graboid versus Kong.
Start the fan fiction.
Goddamn right.
So Jess is going to start it later today. PJ, you're going to have like a 500-page treatment by the end of the month.
Oh, you want to talk about dossiers? I'm going to get the Tremors.
I didn't say dossier. I said treatment.
I mean, Jesse knows. I have a Tremors sequel that I desperately would like to make.
I saw one of your tweets the other day.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Hollow Earth. It makes sense.
I may have picked up Tremors on 4K on Arrow thanks to you.
Yes. I have done my job.
So again, though, because the humans with like the seismic charges into the water had to help Kong get out of Godzilla entanglement. And this one, these things are using their wings to try to suffocate Kong, and he's in a bad way for a little bit. And again, they're helping him, which is something that I like. I like humans having a purpose and doing something.
Yeah,
they could have got the better of Kong if it wasn't for them.
And I felt like the humans with Kong had a purpose. Their stuff wasn't the stuff that bugged me.
Right, I agree. I know. I know exactly what you mean.
And like we said earlier when we brought up Skull Island, when it comes to humans and Kong, you're like, okay, this makes sense. Humans and Godzilla, and I think this comes down to the fact that with Kong, he can actually emote and do better. The most human moment we got with Godzilla was in King of Monsters when he was on the verge of death, and Ken Watanabe's character is like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for him because I can tell he needs this nuclear blast to survive. That was the most human moment I've gotten in this series so far with Godzilla.
You mean it wasn't Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor Johnson? And they're just
siblings a year before and a year later they're married and fucking.
Same year, 2015. No, it was 14. No, you're right. I was wrong. I take that back.
I was about to say no, that wasn't.
I'm going to take myself right out of the showdown. Like, is that the door? Is that where it is? I'm out. Okay. Jeff is bringing this up again. I've seen him bring it up in some shows before, but I want to bring it up here and see what you guys think, because he's not the first one to say it, and I'm sure he won't be the last. Maybe opportunity in Kong 2, Hollow Earth.
Yeah, I was going to say missed opportunity maybe, but I think that the point is that we didn't necessarily need it now. Like, I think everyone wanted to see the spectacle of them not being in the Hollow Earth, because the Hollow Earth was more of a means to an end in a lot of ways. And I think that you don't get the destruction. You don't get the, as weird as that sounds, you don't get the destruction if you have it in Hollow Earth, right?
I agree.
And we had a similar fight already underwater. It would have felt very similar to do something in inverted air in Hollow Earth when we'd already seen them fighting underwater. Like, it would have felt redundant, and you didn't necessarily
because I was inverted.
Correct.
Yeah. And Shug, I do see that we have a Streamlabs from you. I'm going to hold on to it for a little bit because it will have relevance here coming up in a couple scenes. But thank you very much for the $5 donation. Appreciate you. All right, so do we go all the way from here to the throne room and we get introduced?
I was just about to say there's the quick thing of them arriving at Apex and seeing Mechagodzilla, and then we cut back.
Okay.
But yeah, so we go back to,
in my opinion.
Yes, we go back to Bernie, Josh, and Madison, who have now arrived at Apex Hong Kong, and they're searching around trying to find a way out, and they come across this giant room. What happens to be in this giant room other than Mechagodzilla himself as he's being tested out?
Skull crawlers.
Yeah.
And we were wondering, why do they have skull crawlers?
Because they're using them as fucking rats, basically.
You know what is disturbing me, though, is that we see skeletons, because they've clearly been feeding the skull crawlers, but they look like human skeletons. And how dark is the Apex story? What do we not know? What do we not see?
This is why I told you I enjoyed that second half of the movie better, because of the little details when you pick up on it. And then we're going to get to the fighting fairly soon, and all of that. It's just it made for the more interesting.
Yeah, I want the boom boom punch stuff. Come on.
but yeah. So we cut back, and now that they've seen Mechagodzilla as a thing, they decide, let's go figure out a way to shut this down, and how this all became. Now we're back to Skull Island, the throne room. Kong's found this axe. He sees all the throne, like the hieroglyphics around. I think there's a couple bodies and skulls around the place, and they're like, wow, there had to be some real damage done here. And then he uses that axe and he puts it down, and it like charges up instantly. And I'm just like, oh,
it was so dope. And I got some real Game of Kongs vibe is what I'm going to call it when he sits on the throne.
Yeah. And it's interesting. There's, again, this is why I'd want a Hollow Earth movie. I want more Titan exploration, more, not through exposition, show, not tell. Go way back if you have to. Go like 1800s, 1700s. Show me other things with these creatures, because there's such a lived-in feeling for this throne room. And when we saw there's like a Godzilla design that went around the throne. Yeah. Obviously, there's like the bone with a Godzilla steg in there, and then there's there's all those creatures there, and clearly like his family lived there, or not, generations back lived there, and I think that's fascinating. And a lot of times, the movies kind of lose the fascination of it, the wonderment. It's just like they're just showing you things and you don't care, and there's no investment. I was into it, man. I was loving this stuff.
I'm right there with you.
So where shortly thereafter, Godzilla's on his way.
Yeah, he arrives in Hong Kong, and he's starting to flip out, and then he just starts blasting a hole into the ground. Everybody's like, "Why the?" Even me, I was like, why the hell is he blasting a hole into the ground?
See, I thought he was going for
the Apex Underground.
Yes,
because that's what I thought initially.
Yeah, I thought he was heading down towards Mechagodzilla, but he gets later on surprised by it, which works out great for me.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that he doesn't know exactly what he was after, other than he sensed King Ghidorah. But while we bring that up, I want to bring up Shug's comment that he had for us. He said, "My only issue is the Ghidorah head. There should have been a better reason why the AI attacked Godzilla. Also, movie didn't need Millie Bobby Brown. In a better world, an Ultimate Universe, maybe they could have handled that better or written it better. Clearly, Millie and that group was there to get us to the Mechagodzilla point because they knew that was the end game. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kaiju fanatics, didn't Mechagodzilla originally come from space?
Yeah, he was. Yes. It was like an alien thing. So,
which I think they decided that was a little more far fetched than they wanted to go. Yeah. And so they had to come up with something. And as far as like this kind of movie and the far-fetched reaches that we have to take, it worked for me, but I understand if it didn't work for everyone.
I'll also say Millie Bobby Brown. I think the movie does need her. I think that this is just, again, one of the casualties of lean and mean versus fleshing the movie out a little. But I think that having human characters on both sides that care about the kaiju characters is very important. At least that's how I look at it. Not that we necessarily even really need human characters, but I think that to have someone in both corners is not necessarily a bad thing, because it's supposed to almost humanize them, I guess, in the best way.
This is a good point, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that, but that makes good sense.
But I very much think that it's kind of one of those things that, again, it was just a casualty of a lot of things being cut out of the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think
wait, aren't they like issue? They're miles and miles below Earth, right?
Yeah, they're
yeah. So Godzilla like makes a little hidey hole and looks down there, and Kong can look right up at him.
Mm-hmm.
Not right up, but yeah, pretty much. But no, PJ,
shouldn't be like a little tiny place.
PJ, I will say, I think part of people's issue is because, and most people agree with this, unless your name's Connor, one of my partners for our stuff. With how uncompelling King of Monsters human stuff was, I think it was just the carryover.
Oh, totally. No, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, that's hence this being the lean and mean version of the movie. Like, again, I enjoy this movie full stop, but I can also say it's very clear character stuff was cut out of this movie, which is something we were talking about earlier off camera. Like, one of the characters in this is the son of Ken Watanabe's character.
The one who's piloting Mechagodzilla, which we're about to get to, actually.
And in that regard, Jesse and I talked about this. It is not lost on me that one of the things that the way that Mechagodzilla is run is very comparable to another legendary property, which is Pacific Rim. Definitely a little bit of drifting there, if you will.
Ooh, Shug. I think the table disagrees.
It's the worst out of the series, Shug.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, even when they are mistaken.
But no, I mean, PJ, I agree. I think the big issue there is that Legendary or Pacific Rim is no longer being made with Warner Brothers, and now it's just with Universal, and that would be the big issue there.
So it's owned by Legendary straight.
Yes.
Universal just did the distribution. Okay. So if it's the same sort of thing where there's a couple series I can think of where the rights have kind of bounced around as long as they stay with the same like core studio, but the distribution will. This is a more inside baseball nonsense that I can tell you about later, but essentially Legendary can do it if they want to, and Warner would have to pick up the bill to distribute it. But and I know that they've talked about out loud that that's something that they would like to do.
I know it's been talked about for years. People have been clamoring for it, although I'm clamoring for it less after that last Pacific Rim movie we got, which.
So can we get the first ever three-way franchise crossover of Pacific Rim, Godzilla, and Tremors?
Yes.
Oh, okay, Tremors. You just said. I thought you were about to say Kong.
I don't make sense here. This is my channel, and I can say what I want.
Yeah, I would
gibberish.
Lose my mind, and I think and I'm like you, where I don't necessarily need another Pacific Rim right now after the sequel. because I've made it no real secret that Pacific Rim is one of my favorite movies of the last decade.
I agree.
I think it's one of the all-time great blockbusters. I think that it does world building on the level of Star Wars in like when you watched A New Hope for the first time and you were like,
PJ,
holy fuck, like it felt fully realized, right? Like that prologue, that world, everything about it feels so lived in and real. And every time I watch it, I find new things that I appreciate about it even more. So I really, really got hurt by Uprising, and I desperately love that world, and I want to return to it. And I still need to watch The Black. I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't watched The Black either because I still, like you, I still have Uprising. Scarring. Let's call it scarring because
I was going to say PTSD.
Pacific Rim was the first one. Was honestly my biggest surprise and one of my favorite films of that year. And I agree with you. It's probably my top. I'll say because I watch a lot of movies.
You and me both, my friend.
Yeah. Well, clearly you do. But I will say it's probably in my top 25 to 50 of the 2010s.
Yeah. I've seen a movie before.
Yes, Jesse, you have.
Yeah, Superman the motion picture, right?
Too soon. Too soon.
Gotta make fun of myself, okay?
I know. Star Trek the movie, though, right? Star Trek the movie, like
Star Trek the movie.
You're gonna balance it out like that,
you know what? So I saw one of the not to get on off on Schmodown, but I saw one of the opening scenes with Mark Riley, and I saw that he had a Superman the motion picture. Superman the movie. Damn it! I did it to myself this time. That was an accident. Oh, this is gonna ruin my entire life. Right. One time I'm gonna answer Superman the motion picture.
Let's get back on topic because we're right on the edge of the fighting, and that's what we're trying to get because we know we're gonna geek out.
Matt's like, I had to slog through this crap to get here. Let's go.
I had to lead the ship, and it's not my channel, damn it. But no, so after Godzilla burns that hold of the earth, monsters freak out.
Listen. Thanks, guys. All right, anyways. Monsters punching each other in the face.
The bat-like monsters freak out. Isa Gonzalez's character is trying to take a piece of the world to send this sample to her father because that's what they need to get to power Mechagodzilla properly. She gets it. The sample goes off like it needs to, and then she gets blown the fuck up.
A single tear.
No tears were shed at that scene. So Kong, now pissed that this piece of paradise and happiness he now found has been interrupted, decides to make his way up the damn hole. And Alex Skarsgård, Rebecca Hall, and Gia all go to follow him. And now we get the big bad monster fight.
The two-rounder, the condensed two-rounder.
Yeah. And
this is what everyone. Oh my god! And there's levels.
Of course, Jesse's internet's going shit right as this happens.
Oh, is it?
You're pixely, my friend.
Pixelated now, and your audio's coming at times a little bit choppy. So we'll see what happens. You're pixely.
Dude, this is everything that 7-year-old me has wanted to see in a movie since he was young. Like we all remember that there was a Godzilla versus Kong movie in the past, and maybe not the best movie. So, and again, this is kind of what I was saying about King of the Monsters earlier. Sometimes you just want to see a $200+ million movie with these characters brought to life in a full realization that feels the scale and the reality of what if these two things were real and duking it out. And holy fuck, did this movie decide to be like, imagine if Kong and Godzilla were real in the middle of a city and wreck and shop.
Yes. Oh, I was about to say.
Am I back? I didn't know if my connection.
You're better. You're better.
Oh, you're much better.
Dude, this is my fiance always makes fun of me because a lot of the times I'm not a total, Kyle slam the monster back and but there's certain things that bring it out, and this is the Kyle movie for me. And I was screaming, I was hooping, I was hollering. It was so good to be back in the theater again, sitting in the Dolby seats, just getting rattled by the seeing the fight. And I love that.
Supposed to be me.
What's that?
That was supposed. No. I'm just talking about that. That experience was supposed to be me because they did a critic screening in the area. My father and I are both critics, and then my dad's like, "Hey, they're sending me a link, so we're not gonna risk the theater because we only have one shot." He's like, "We're just, even though it's only gonna be 7 of us in the theater, we're not risking the theater. We're just gonna watch it here." I'm like, "Damn it."
Hey, you know what though? The nice thing about being lean and mean, like PJ keeps saying, is that go and see it again. Go watch it again.
Still only half vexed. So.
What's that?
Still only half vexed. The only reason we were gonna do in the theaters because we didn't know if we were gonna get the link sent to us.
I haven't had mine yet. I'm going to, but I still went. I'm bad. I'm bad. But I mean, they got some distance. Anyways,
yeah,
punching and atomic breath and a battle axe, and how metal is the third act of this movie? Holy shit!
This is like if a 80s rock album metal cover came to life and Iron Maiden scored the fucking thing.
Speaking of
the score, Junkie XL score felt like an 80s film and I fucking loved it.
And again, shout out to Adam Wingard for being like, this is the thing I want. I want an 80s midnight monster movie. And that's what everything about it screams that.
I want the sound of Mad Max behind my monsters fighting, and it's just like, let's go. My fiance was not a huge fan of the Junkie XL score for Justice League, but she kept turning to me and she's like, "This score is great."
Yeah. Jesse, you said she's not a fan of the Justice League score for Junkie XL. I would have looked at it and I'd question this decision I made.
No, okay. Well, I agree with her criticism. Not to get into it, but like the usage of the Amazon theme was overcooked a lot. But that's a whole nother topic. You know, I love that movie. She liked it too. It's all good. But Junkie XL, phenomenal. Just blood pumping. I hope you have a good sound system, Matt, when you're watching this at home, because
I had my sound bar on. The sound bar that it's like, here, we're gonna bounce all the sound off of the remaining walls.
There's some 80s synth and stuff in this too, which was real reminiscent of the Guest, because again, Adam Wingard is he knows what he's doing, man. He's an 80s fan, and like these fight sequences are so cool because again, it's got that like scrappy brawl feel that you expect out of bar fight type movie, but it's also got scale, and there's something about the way that Kong is like jumping off the buildings and like kind of reminiscent of some of the other movies. There's shots where it's very similar to him running through New York, but also him using weapons against Godzilla. Godzilla's pure brute force, and it's so fucking cool.
And I love that, like, as great as Kong is, you know that like he's a little outmatched. I think that's fair to say as far as like power goes, and to watch like Kong be able to like get some really good hits in, but at the same time he's like, he knows. I was cracking up every time Godzilla would start lighting up. Kong was like, "Shut up, no!" Yeah. Just gonna like punch you in the face, closing his mouth.
Can we really quick talk about? I really thought that axe to the head would have just sliced Godzilla's skull open. Like he took an axe to the face. I'm like, oh, he's dead. Kong won. And I'm like, how the hell does he not have a scratch?
And they got it in the leg too, man.
Godzilla's not fleshy,
but it's the same. It's a scale from, or at least it looks like a scale from his ancestors. So you think it cut through him just like it.
I'm gonna pop this back up here just because this is the hype moment. So I want to know everyone's favorite moments of Act 3. All the punching, fighting, atomic breath, and soon to be a new challenger approaches.
Yes.
So guys, let me know what really did it for you here.
Yeah.
And
we'll get to my moment soon enough, actually.
Speaking of the camera work, as we talked about earlier, one of the coolest things I've ever seen, again, I said this felt like a theme park attraction. There's a scene in particular that feels like straight out of something like Star Tours, and it's when they come out of the Hollow Earth and they like the ship comes out and the camera's following the ship, and like you see Kong on the building and it's going around the atomic breath, and like they go past Godzilla. That is one of the dopest things I've ever seen in a movie. It is so fucking cool because you feel small and insignificant and also hyped as fuck because you're like, look at this shit, man. It is awesome.
Yes. And here, I will say this film, especially for this being a scene at night, fixed one of my biggest criticism of King of Monsters. Where King of Monsters, I felt, even though it was a $200 monster fest when it wanted to be, I felt they did a lot of hiding the CGI by doing it all dark,
And
a lot of shadows covering up.
Didn't they lower the budget for this movie?
Yeah,
Because,
yeah, they did.
They did.
Yeah, because they
King
said
of Monsters
that,
didn't make a ton of money, so they lowered the budget for this.
I think King of Monsters barely broke even.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, this one's budget is roughly somewhere between 155 and 200 because I want to say King of the Monsters was closer to like 250 almost.
Yes, you're correct.
Damn nice usage.
Yes,
money well spent.
It also shows that Wingard came from a background of
not having a lot, similar to Kevin Smith, where you give me what I can, you give me what I can have, and I'm going to use it to the best of my ability and streamline it as best as possible and still give you a great product.
Kevin Smith, I know that guy.
Yeah, I know you do. I think PJ knows him too.
Maybe a little.
Yeah. But yeah, so you have this fight, and as you know, our bud Buck brought up earlier, Kong bows to no one. He just lays on his back. Kong gets as my boy Chris Tucker would say on Friday, Kong gets knocked the fuck out.
Well, round 2 went to Kong because he whooped on Godzilla for a little bit with that axe, but Godzilla came back with a vengeance.
I still consider that all one round.
It is, but I just break it up that way because they broke it up that way because they wanted to sneak in. Well, Kong can't get his ass kicked all the time.
Yeah. But I mean, personally, to me, I considered that like a draw. If you're looking at, because it was even basically the end outcome of it. Yeah, Kong was a little out of it by the end of it, and they had to revive him. But hey, moving on back to the Apex stuff, because now we cut back to Apex partway through this fight, and now have that sample, and
I think it's like it scans the sample so that they can recreate it and then put it in Mechagodzilla so that they could run it, because before it was having operating issues where it would just shoot like one Omega blast thing, and then it's like
shut down. Right.
It's kind of like the what's that Iron Man one, the little red laser that he has. It's a one and done.
Yes. Yeah. Can I also shout out Damien Bouchier is clearly a fan of like horror monster movies, because the dude has basically just been doing random horror movies and monster flicks for the longest time. He pops up in the most random places, and I kind of love that for him. Like he isn't that he has a couple. It just off the top of my head where he's like, yeah, it's a bad horror movie, but I like making it.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't like work? So
yeah, but I mean, you know, not everyone leans in on it. It's almost feeling like Bruce Campbell. Like Bruce Campbell knows the movies he's making. You know,
don't mention that name to me right now after his April Fool's jokes.
Yes, yeah.
That sounds so good. Can somebody just animate that for me? Just like a cheap animation, just so I can look at it.
It's such a troll too. Like, this is such a random tangent. It's such a troll because we know he's in the movie. Like, he posted the pictures that he filmed something for the movie. Like, he was like, I just finished filming something in London with friends and it was fun. And we all know what that thing is. Motherfucker. And it's like, there's precedent for what he posted too. That's the worst part. Marvel Zombies versus Army of Darkness is a real comic book that exists.
Yes, it is.
PJ, I'm going to just toss this out there and we go right back to the movie. Tremors 7 with Bruce Campbell. All right.
Yes.
Anyways, go ahead. All right.
Yeah. So
Matt's like, shut the fuck up.
No,
guys.
I'm not. I got my father asking me why I'm not at work. I'm like, I was just scheduled off today. That's why. But no. So Mechagodzilla is now powered. Kong's lying on his ass, and Godzilla's now trying to sense this new threat. And this new threat comes at him, and he's ready to go. Revenant, and maybe
after getting disconnected
by Sarazawa's son, who pretty much dies in that process, and is basically running off of Ghidorah's brain. So now it's Ghidorah's brain is running Mecha's.
Speaking of round twos, this is
round 2.
Ghidorah, yeah.
Or round 3, if you want to say that.
Yeah, because I fought a couple times.
So now it's Mechagodzilla versus Godzilla, and Godzilla's getting his ass whooped.
Dude, they handled Mechagodzilla so dope. Like, you had to know that Mechagodzilla wasn't going to be in the whole movie, but he came to play, and I geeked out so hard. It was cool to see him in Ready Player One, but to see him where he belongs really does it for me.
Yeah.
With the rockets and they took a little bit of Pacific Rim with like the rocket boosted like punches and stuff, and his mobility, the fact that he was able to just dodge Godzilla like whoop, whoop. Yeah, he was light on his feet for how big he was.
And then Gia, Nathan, and Eileen kind of give Kong that shock to the heart. Just just the paddles, clear. Okay, I'm back. And this is my favorite moment of the movie.
It works a little too well, but I loved it.
Yeah, my favorite moment of the movie is right afterwards when he's getting up, he sees what's going on, and his shoulder in the fight with Godzilla got put out of place, slams it into a building, puts it back in place,
and then he Henry Cavill's. He does the loads up his guns and boom, and does a little snap.
I'm like, I was already Team Kong. That just solidifies it. Like,
I got to tell you, that is.
And him go like, okay, let's ride.
That's the gift that I've seen the most is him just loading them up. And I gotta say, because I've been telling people, and everyone's wondering when. I said I actually cried in this movie, and they're like, "You what?" I was like, "No, I did." And it was when they woke Kong up, and the way he looked at the little girl, and when she's telling him Godzilla's not the enemy, that is.
Oh my god!
He gives her this little like sorrowful like smile, and I'm like, why?
Well, and again, I mean, it's one of those things that because he's kind of the focal point, he's our emotional center, and it's his movie in a lot of ways. And again, I will lean on the lethal weapon of it all, right? Because Riggs in those movies learns, like, not everyone's out to get him. Like, you have a place in the world. You have a family that cares about you. And it felt very reminiscent of that to me, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. So then he helps Godzilla, and they team up on Mechagodzilla. And in my eyes, this is... People can say Godzilla won the overall fight. In my eyes, Kong's the winner because Godzilla realized, this dude when he's at full let's get ready to go, just basic like it to me it felt like Kong could have fucked up Mechagodzilla by himself. That's what it seemed like to me.
He's got the mobility that Godzilla doesn't have, and all in all, Kong had a worse day than Godzilla did,
and he handled Mecha no issue after the fact.
It was not equal playing field by the time that Kong got there, because all this takes place like pretty much in like 24, 48 hours. And Kong nearly drowned, was on sedatives, fought off 2 flying snake demon things, fought off a bunch of bats, and then it was like 2 rounds with Godzilla, and then had to fight like Godzilla again. So, and he basically died. It was a lot for the poor guy to handle in one day.
Yeah. So, but they take out Mechagodzilla together, and then Kong's together. Kong took his ass out.
Kong destroys Mechagodzilla.
Right, PJ. I knew I liked you.
It's not even so. Godzilla powering up the axe and being like, "Bro, do your thing," and Kong going apeshit on him is everything.
Listen, so Godzilla helped like restrain him, and they like ran him through a building or whatever, and they like helped kind of like get him off center. But then he's like, "All right, bro, do you?"
And when he rips Mechagodzilla's head off and just like does the
Sean, that wasn't
roar.
teamwork. That was here. Let me power up your axe real quick, and you take care of the rest.
Yeah,
so that's what that was.
You know when you do a group project and one person does most of the heavy lifting and both parties get an A? That's what Godzilla did, like minimal work, and was like
Godzilla was Klay Thompson in the 2015 NBA Finals.
Yeah. We stand for Godzilla here also, but Kong's the real
Kong
MVP.
Is king. Kong is king. So yeah, and then after they take out Mechagodzilla, Kong's ready to go. He's like, "Hey, you just saw what I just did. Let's go." And Godzilla just stands there and looks back, and then Kong drops the axe, and Godzilla walks away and is like, "Okay, I need the second one of these because I need to see Kong just straight up whoop his ass after the fact." Because in my eyes, I know who's going to win. I'm still Team Kong. I don't care if Kong ended up on his ass because Sean, at the end of the day, Jesse said it perfectly. Godzilla didn't have to do shit but swim. Kong had to take out all these other monsters, he had to climb up that hole because he had to use the axe and climb up that hole.
He probably had a hangover.
Yeah,
he swung all the way down into Hollow Earth, swung all the way out of Hollow Earth.
Like he's probably tired as shit.
He's been marathoning all day.
You get those paddles that gets the adrenaline pumping, and now you're ready to go. Let's go.
Here's what it is, dude. Kong did a fucking triathlon before fighting Godzilla. So let's relax.
And Kong even did that thing that, again, I keep bringing up the shit from all these 80s movies they reference. There's another Lethal Weapon reference in all of this. Before he goes to do this fight with Mecha, his arm is out of socket, so he slams his arm against the building.
He does that.
Yeah, and to put his arm in. Again, Kong got his ass kicked and was like, "Nah, I'm ready. Let's do this thing." It is so fucking cool. Goddamn, man.
Yeah,
and then kind of the movie abruptly ends after that. Just abruptly ends. Everyone goes their separate ways. Kong now goes to Hollow Earth. Bernie asks Madison's dad to be on his podcast, and
yeah,
I had to say I have to give my 2 points on the fight because I opted out there for a second with the internet connection. When Godzilla supercharged that axe, I leaned over to my fiance and said "power at 400%," and I think she cackled. And then also when he ripped the head off of mechagodzilla,
dude,
a fatality. Like that's a fatality.
Anyways,
give it to me. Inject it directly into my bloodstream. I think this is how you do it. Is there more character stuff that they could have had that maybe shouldn't have been cut? Sure, maybe. But I'm very satisfied with this product as far as like compared against what they've given us before. Not to say that it's garbage, but it's just like I think this is what it needed to be, and it did a great job with it.
I could not agree more. I said it in my tweet after I initially had watched it. I think this is one of the coolest blockbusters in a long time. Like strictly just cool. I'm not saying like it's great with the character work. Obviously, it has its own shortcomings in that regard. But this movie is lean, mean, fun as hell, incredibly watchable. Like Wingard,
the last hour is very watchable to me.
Yeah,
I can't
Wingard,
do that first
man.
hour anymore. I can't do that first hour anymore.
I respect it, Matthew. Don't worry about that. But like, I think Wingard is a fun filmmaker. Even if I don't love Death Note, I think the movie is watchable with the deaths and things like that. He's a good filmmaker, man. And I think that here we got to see what he can do with a big budget. Like, give him the reins to do something fun as fuck, and you'll get something fun as fuck.
I want to ask you guys a quick question. Do you think, because I do, this being the fourth movie in the franchise, I think this is one of the most accessibles of all four films. Like, even though there's all the setup and stuff, I feel like you could have not seen any of them and gone into them and like, that was sick.
All of the, so let's be honest. All of the films loosely connect. You can watch Kong without seeing Godzilla. You can watch King of Monsters without seeing Godzilla or Kong.
King of Monsters is the only one to me that feels heavy-handed. Like they're trying to do too much.
But you can it does at times, but at the end of the day, you can still start it and pick up on everything that's happened.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, there's no characters from 2014 that really come back outside of the Ken Watanabe character and, what's her name? From 2014, and she's in Paddington and Shape of Water.
Reed. Oh, yeah.
He plays the mother.
Yeah, and she dies in King of the Monsters, and she's one of the ones where you're like, wait, she died? Like, it happens real abruptly, and you're like,
and that's why I complain about King of Monsters editing, because there's so many characters that happens with.
But, like, that was one of the...
popping in here.
Yeah, I've watched it twice already, too, man.
I want to. I haven't gotten to yet. If I felt like getting up at 6 a.m., I might have...
I don't know how to describe how I've watched it, because, like I said, I've seen it once fully through, and I've seen that first hour 2 other times. Why?
I can't begin to describe how badly I hope that this universe continues in one way or another. I would love to see the Hollow Earth stuff explored in other movies. I'd also really love, and like, you know, we've talked about the Pac Rim of it all. I would love to see that. But I also desperately want to see Legendary decide that Cthulhu, and like, let's put some Lovecraft in here, like have him come out of the deep, and let's really play with that. I think that could be
PJ, the only
level.
Lovecraft I want is more Lovecraft Country. That's the only Lovecraft I want.
I need to finish that. I was binging it really hard,
so
and then I fell away. But yeah, it's good. It's good.
Well, that's because you started to get preoccupied.
Oh yeah. I thought you were gonna like shame me for some reason. I was like, what did I do?
No, I wouldn't shame you.
I did. I've had a hard time with shows other than I started watching
Invincible.
Yeah, Invincible.
Captain.
I waited way too long to start watching the 4th episode last night. I fell asleep like 5 minutes into it, so I have to revisit that. Yeah. But anyways, guys, nice 114. Not too bad. Not bad
at all.
We kept and started 5 minutes late. So that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah, I kind of thought getting into this a little bit when I was like, oh, we haven't started talking about the movie and we're 12 minutes in. I wasn't sure where it was gonna go.
Aren't you glad I watched that beginning 3 times?
Dude, thank you. Because I was gonna I was gonna wanderously just go through there, but it's been an absolute pleasure having both you guys on here. What charisma we had here. Or chemistry, not charisma. I don't know. I need to go back to bed. Am I sure I'm ready to do what I'm doing today?
God, you and me both.
Yeah, I've already finished this caffeine, and all it's done for me is I have to pee for like a 5th time this morning.
Yeah, I'm completely out already.
See, y'all West Coast boys, it's 1:00 over here in Cleveland, Ohio.
Man, if it was 1:00, I'd already have my sweats going. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me. We are going to do some pluggity plugs. So, PJ, I will have you go first. Give me 1 second here. And then this. There we go.
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram, as it says below. PJ_Campbell. You can find me at the Movie Trivia Showdown. Hey, I write the questions. Be nice to the writers. We're only human. And you can find me at the PJ Campbell Network, where we do all sorts of reviews and fun content, fun things. I am very tired. I'm about to be even more tired. I got a long day ahead, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, look, Lovecraft. Let's get some Cthulhu in the Monsterverse.
Hey, you guys just celebrated your first year. That was awesome.
We did, and you were there.
I got to pop on that. I was for a little bit.
It was so fun, man. That was a hell of a stream. It was a hell of a stream. Let me tell you.
All right. I'm going to pop Matt up here. Wait, how do I do this? I don't know. I'm learning things.
So just click on me, hover over me, and that same mini screen will pop up. You can just click that screen and all.
Damn right, Sean. Team Question Writers. I love that hashtag, by the way. I really want Christian to make a shirt of it.
We got this. I got this. First try.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at WattMoviesMatt, and you can also find me on various shows on the Watt Real Entertainment YouTube page. We celebrated our first year on March 23rd, our first full year of doing YouTube. But yeah, just excited. You can see me on Spin from the Reel if you like Schmodown. Chris Anthony Lopez and I talk about Schmodown every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we just have a good time. So yeah, check us out. Check out if you want to see the Ragers Ragent Taylor Cleek. You can check him out on Really Scared, and yeah,
awesome. Thank you, Matt. All right, well, you guys, if you're new to the channel, got to get my plugs. Where is this thing? I got this thing going. I got a banner because I'm not a banner. I get a scroll by because I'm special like that. So I haven't done anything in a while just because I haven't been prompted to do such, but I'm always looking for a reason to pop on stereo. So if you guys want to have a conversation and get that going, you can find me at The Jackal. Of course, The Jackal being a reference to my persona on the Movie Trivia Showdown, which I had my first match a few weeks back.
Month ago now.
Was it a month ago already? Wow. Didn't go the way I wanted to, but you know what? I had a great time, and it was a fun introduction to the Schmodown, something I've been following for many years. You can find me on Twitter at Jesse Swift, and of course here on YouTube at the Flick in Real Fancast. So again, thanks guys for coming by. Thank you everyone that joined. Thank you for the Streamlabs. I had an awesome time. I got to have both you guys on the show again, either together separately or what have you. But it was good. All right, guys. Until next time that I see you, which is probably next Saturday, keep it real. And this has been BJ, Matt, and Jesse.